Or they try to.
Welcome to the next segment of the Pittsburgh Business Virgin. I'm Nick Cortazzo here with Jimmy Bell. And we're here today. We're very privileged to have Bruce Freshwater of Sierra Without Wires.
Thank you.
Here's our guest. Bruce is going to tell us a little about his company and how he's growing it, how he started it, and whatnot. So, Jimmy, a little background for us?
Yeah, Sierra Without Wires is a senior-level IT company looking to cover their needs. Got started in 2003, relaunched in 2006. You're serving in, I think it was, what'd you say, 42 states?
32 states
32
right now in
states.
4 different countries.
32 states, 4 different countries. So you certainly are worldwide from a company perspective. And your expertise is really cloud, to use a buzzword, cloud maintenance of a company's tech needs.
Right. Yeah. Senior level network and server operations. Basically anything that the IT. We're the IT company to the IT companies.
Okay.
So, Bruce, tell us how you got started, and how did Sierra Without Wires come to be?
Okay. Initially, it was my experience in the Air Force. Air Force is in for 6 years. Specialized in electronics repair and calibration. I was a new kid on the block, so in which case when we started deploying computers, Windows NT to replace Banyan Vines, things along those lines, it became one of my responsibilities. So I was in the K8 side of the metrology lab, which was the responsible for the laboratory measurements. So basically, we had a whole bunch of computers we were responsible for, in which case we used them day to day. Old BNC CAT cabling instead of the newer standards. That was back in the 90s. So I started off Freshwater design when I worked for Alaska Pipeline after I got out of the Air Force. So I doing VB programming, and then I started my first company. First company I sold off in 2006 and started Sierra. So specializing, same thing as far as the first company, senior level network and server operations.
Now, and we were talking a little off air, but how did you? It sounded like most of the funding for Sierra Without Wires has been mainly your money going in back.
It's all been back pocket.
All been back pocket. In the past, when other businesses you started, did you go a different route through financing or bank, and then just kind of had that opportunity to go all back pocket on this one, or have you experienced both sides of that, I guess?
No, we tried for bank funding back in 2000, or not we myself. Tried for bank funding back in 2001, and it was funny. The whole IT market is one of those, if you're in business in 6 months, come back and see us. So in which case, you had to start with back pocket. Hardest time I ever had was starting off my first real business, in which case I pretty much lost everything in 2002. So I lost all my furniture, the whole shoot match. So I basically got evicted. Yeah, it's not for anybody light of heart. So,
any learning lessons from that experience? I'm sure there's probably a few.
Watch your finances. Make sure your accountant's doing a good job. Make sure you're billing customers correctly. So we actually in 2002 kicked off which is now called the Sierra Incident Manager, which is responsible for time tracking, ticketing, asset management, license management, and the whole thing is we can't do our job effectively unless we know what we actually did on the job. So if someone calls us up and says, "What'd you guys do in December of last year on the 12th?" We have to actually be able to pull that instantaneously, not taking hours upon hours upon hours digging. So like the Sierra Incident Manager is a 100% online ticketing system that we designed 100% in-house, in which case it tracks every single thing we do, from the equipment customers purchase to the purchasing aspects to all sales aspects, to the CRM functionality as far as salespeople entering the notes, to the engineers actually entering what they did.
So a lot better record.
Yeah, you have to document,
and that's pretty good advice for any business to know what you're doing. Know your experiences. It's probably a good way to also look back and see what went well, what didn't go well, what can we improve on.
Yeah, the whole knowledge-based mentality. Okay, this scope, we anticipated 10 hours. It took us 15 hours. What did we do wrong? And sometimes it may be we completely underscoped it. Other times it may be the customer overran it. And there's other times maybe that the engineer wasn't competent enough to actually deploy that project. So learn from those experiences, knowing that engineer A is better suited to do this versus this and this. So and that's where the SIM comes in to make sure we actually have that documentation information moving forward.
So you've now started up, I guess, fresh. Was it 3 times now? 3 new businesses off the ground?
Kind of. Freshwater Design was a single employee, which was myself, and I did it part-time while I was working for Alaska. Primarily programming for British Petroleum up in Anchorage. And then started Innovations Tech in 2001. And sold Innovations Tech off in 2006.
How many employees were part of Innovations Tech?
32.
32. And now you have 25?
25 going on 27. We actually have 2 people that are starting in a week.
Now, so for our viewers out there that are looking to start up and grow with employees. What are some of the maybe advice or tips you do about hiring those first couple employees? When do you know to do that? When do you you could kind of take on those, and what are some of the maybe learning lessons?
What are some of the key indicators of growth in your business? That in order for Sierra to continue to grow, you got to bring on more people.
Yeah, we expect 75 to 80% productivity on our employees. If we see, once again from the sim, that people are hitting 82, 85, 90, 95, 115 as far as people working extra hours, then it's time to bring somebody else on. So a lot of times people don't chime up because they're too proud, or it's the mentality that if we bring somebody else on, their job might be threatened, so they're not going to say anything.
Okay.
Then understanding from that side, when we start getting at capacity and bring it on, because the whole thing, you want at least 15 to 25% capacity setting out there for the little spike times. So spike times might be that there's a problem with some customer's network, in which case now we're dedicating 3 engineers. Well, there goes my whole 20% overhead right out the door. So you have to make sure you calculate those numbers.
How do you track that?
Serious manager.
I was going to say, that's a system that you guys, and that kind of flows back into some of the conversation we had at the beginning. So.
Correct. Yeah, we actually have 3 people responsible for those analysis. One's a project management team, one's the accounting team, the other one's myself. So in which case that system gets reviewed at least 3 times a day. Also, notifications when tickets are closed, tickets are open. There's micromanagement mixed in on documentation level, but not with employee Cs.
Fantastic. We'll break there. Great segment on starting out with Bruce. Thanks for the great feedback and information. Check out SierraExperts.com. Learn more about Sierra Without Wires. We'll be back in a few minutes.